All right, so we had our introduction to the carbon cycle last unit, but this is where we drive it home. So we talked about how, as humans, we're putting more carbon in the atmosphere than we ever have before. For one thing, there's more of us than there ever has been, and we need to get around to see each other, whether it be planes, trains, or automobiles. Uh, so we are starting this project in the sense of trying to figure out, first we have to understand the system in order to fix it. And then once we understand the system, we can actually put steps towards actually trying to fix the problem. So that's what this is all about. So first we need to understand the carbon cycle. So you can see how we have three different spheres. We have the geosphere, biosphere, atmosphere. Atmosphere, of course, we know means up above us. Biosphere is us and things that are living, and then our geosphere is everything underneath us, the rock. So geo means rock or earth. So we know that that is a part of the geosphere. So law of conservation of matter. This is something that you'll know for the rest of your life if you haven't learned it yet. Law of conservation of matter states that you can neither create nor destroy any mass or energy in a reaction. It all has to go somewhere. So you can't just take you can't take the carbon that's in oil, set it on fire, and it just disappears. That carbon has to go somewhere. The mass goes into the air in forms of gas or CO2 and CO. So carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide. Now, geosphere is everything in our soil, our fossil fuels. That's where the carbon is. In our biosphere, carbon makes up the plants and animals that we are. Because, of course, fossil fuels, all they are compacted dead animals and plants for millions of years. So someday you will be the oil for some future being's car in the millions of years from now. After you die, you will turn into fossil fuels yourself. Uh, Atmosphere, this is where we see gaseous carbon dioxide. Now, some carbon dioxide is not a bad thing. Plants need carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. In order for them to survive, they need carbon dioxide. But the problem is the amount that we put in. So we have different ways of doing this. So atmosphere to biosphere is when plants absorb the carbon dioxide through photosynthesis. We eat the plants to gain that carbon, and you can see, so as photosynthesis occurs, we consume it, and then it will gradually go into decomposition. So biosphere to atmosphere. Plants and animals break down sugars through respirations. So animals will break down us. We breathe out our carbon dioxide. Animals breathe out. So the cows that you eat for hamburger actually produce carbon dioxide because they eat those plants. They turn that glucose into carbon dioxide. Now, burning plants can cause the biggest problem because we slash and burn plants. If we don't replace those plants, we are not having a balance between the amount of CO2 that we're putting into the atmosphere and what we are taking away from the atmosphere. So you can see as we burn soil, we have soil respiration, we have a respiration that comes up, and we have human activity of burning that fuel. Now, the fuel has to come from the geosphere, but we are burning it in the biosphere. We are a part of the biosphere. Whatever human influence we have, we push that away. So combustion is a big factor that is adding more carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. So biosphere to geosphere, that's when we die and we turn our carbon that is in us into organic fossil fuels, or they form sedimentation. So decomposition gives the carbon to the soil, which is used by the plants to grow. Now sedimentation is when it leads to fossil fuels being stored underground, and that's how we get our carbon. So fossil fuels all underground in the geosphere from here. So fossil fuels in the geosphere to the atmosphere, there are two ways to do that. We either have fossil fuels that are taken to the biosphere and then burned, or we have volcanoes that take it directly from there and produce all of this ash and dust into the atmosphere. So yes, volcanic eruptions are not good for our atmosphere because they add more carbon to it. Now, here's the deal. If we were not overly producing it through fossil fuels, then we have less to worry about with the volcanoes. But all the volcanoes do is add a lot more to this of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. So that is a negative effect. Hydrosphere. Hydrosphere is just what happens in our water. So you can see this lovely description shows you how each thing works. So geosphere shows us our sedimentation, how it gets into the ground, and we dig through and either get this fossil fuels out, or it comes out through geological activity. Consumption with respiration and combustion are very big factors, but if it wasn't for the combustion of fossil fuels, then we wouldn't have as big of a problem. Now, this particular set of slides is your first step in your project. You will be given a description of what you need to do for your 3D model of this specific model that or picture that you're given. It will be posted on Classroom with everything else. So this is your first step. Watch it, answer the questions, then you will start your project. So it is a big deal. We need to make sure that we understand this process before we can go through with the next step. All right? Good luck.